Welcome to another edition of the GreenBaje podcast. As always, that is AJ. He is the green. I am Ken. I am the beige. And welcome to a brand new season of the GreenBaje podcast. As you can tell, we're in a bit of a celebratory mood because there are lots of things to celebrate. We're back. As you would have recognized, we weren't around for the last 6 to 8 weeks or so. But summer is family time. Lots of things are happening. I know, yep, football is back and we are back. Before we get too deep into what we are going to talk about today, we have to celebrate with some others. We have had the Olympics this summer, and we have had many folks who were successful in their ventures to gain medals. We have others who did not gain medals, but just qualifying for the Olympics is a big enough deal that we will celebrate with you, regardless of what you managed to do or did not do. So congratulations to all of you. Also, we had the induction of the new inductees for the Football Hall of Fame. So this year, they had an extra special presentation for the Football Hall of Fame because due to the severity of COVID last year, the 2020 inductees were not able to get in, or at least they were not able to have their own enshrinement ceremony because COVID. So this year, we had the 2021 inductees going in, as well as the 2020 inductees who were able to join in this enshrinement ceremony. For 2021, we had Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu, Peyton Manning, Charles Woodson, Calvin Johnson, John Lynch, Alan Faneca, and Drew Pearson, who were all of the players inducted into the Hall of Fame, as well as Tom Flores, who was the coach of the Raiders and the Seahawks, and Bill Nunn, he was a scout for the Steelers. For the 2020 inductees, they had 20 inductees for that particular year of inductees. That was celebrating the 100th anniversary of the NFL. And as a result, they had a lot more people going into the Hall of Fame than normal, and we celebrate with them. 20 names is quite a lot to call. So we'll just tip our hat to you and we'll keep it moving. Now, while we are celebrating the return of football is looking a little different for this 2021-2022 season. And not least of all is this whole situation still with COVID. AJ, you remember when COVID first came up, the thought process was that this wasn't going to last very long. It was going to probably be done in 3 months. And no, so we thought. Now we're in the second year of still dealing with COVID.
Season 2 of COVID.
Yep, season 2 of COVID. And as everybody understands, a lot of the rationales that are being used at this point in time are not necessarily being done for public safety being foremost. A lot of this is being done because the money got messed up last year and everybody is still trying to catch their hands. So therefore, we're going to do whatever we can to make sure that the money isn't messed up again this year. Enter the new COVID rules for the NFL. So, AJ, let's get into this. Let's start here. So that last year was the first year that we basically had football playing on every single day of the week because of all of the reschedules and restructures and trying their hardest not to cancel games, but they don't want to extend the season and all of that madness. So this year, for 2021, the league has informed clubs that there will be no extensions to the season to accommodate a COVID-19 outbreak. Now, of course, as everyone should be aware, they have done their best to get everyone vaccinated so that we don't mess the money up. But as we are looking at this, we know that the season this particular year and going forward is now going to be a 17 game schedule. So we have an 18-week regular season. And on top of this 18-week regular season, there is no time really to do
reschedule and
to have any
usually,
reschedules.
yeah.
So if there is an outbreak of COVID-19, especially by the side among unvaccinated players, the team with the outbreak will forfeit and be credited with a loss of that particular game. When you look at it a little deeper, they said that all the players on that team and the team that they were to play against are all also going to forfeit their game checks for that week. So let's say, for argument's sake, AJ, your Patriots are playing against my Saints, and your Patriots were the ones who weren't getting vaccinated, and we had to cancel our game. We all lose our money. We'll get a win, and you'll get a loss. So, I mean, this is a perfect place to go off the rip. So, when you look at this particular wrinkle in this new rule that's being put out there, what is your first thought?
This is such a heavy topic, right? And generally, I'm not going to get into the whole like what my views are on vaccinations or anything. That's nobody else's business. However, with regards to this current situation at hand, I'm saying that to lead up to say that I'm generally with this situation, I'm kind of on the fence about it, because the fact that you're playing with these men's money, you're threatening their money essentially, but I think it's a ticklish situation because while you do want everyone to get vaccinated, that doesn't actually prevent you from getting it. It prevents you from suffering as badly in case you were to actually contract COVID-19. But so what had me wondering the first when I first saw this was, okay, so what happens if it's a vaccinated player who contracts it and causes an outbreak in the team? Like what becomes of that stipulation then? So with this, generally, I don't know, Ken, I'm on the fence. I'm because they're putting anyone who may have like any sort of apprehension with regards to getting vaccinated, they're putting the players that is in a type of situation that is like, all right, well, if you don't get this, you're gonna lose and you're gonna hurt the entire team. So everybody gonna be mad at you too. So it's such a precarious spot to be in. I wouldn't want to be in that spot. I wouldn't. I mean, if I had any reservations about the vaccine, I wouldn't want to be put in that spot. My main question is like what I just asked you. So what happens in the event that it's a vaccinated player who contracts COVID?
So I was here looking through the rule and the note that they have here on NFL.com with regards to the whole vaccination thing. And it does not, well, it says if a club cannot play due to a COVID spike in vaccinated individuals, we will attempt to minimize the competitive and economic burden on both participating teams. So
that sounds like nicely worded BS.
Well, I mean, so the way how it looks to me, they are willing to make concessions for those who get the vaccine.
Right.
So if you get the vaccine and we have 15 players who are all vaccinated and we can't play the game because too many men have COVID, then as the rule said, if you have 2 negative tests 24 hours apart, then that means as far as the NFL is concerned, you're free and clear, and therefore we should be able then to get back to regular business. So if someone or there's an outbreak of COVID in the team and it is caught early, let's say it happens on Tuesday, because if the guys play on Sunday, then they have Monday off, and then they come back then to start going through their stuff, preparing for the next game on Tuesday. So let's say they come into this facility on Tuesday, they have COVID, they can't go on Tuesday. But then by Thursday, everything is free and clear. Then maybe we can push the game from Sunday to Monday. We can probably push the game from Monday to Tuesday. We could push it from Sunday to Tuesday. Maybe they may want to work with you. However, as we know, there are lots of players who are very much against the vaccine and have been speaking out publicly against taking any kind of vaccine for this thing. And some have even gone so far as to threaten retirement because they are not interested in taking the vaccine. So when you weigh all of that, when you take all of that into consideration, it puts them, as you said, in a very, very ticklish spot, because you're not just affecting yourself, but you're affecting your brothers, and the NFL is supposed to be a brotherhood, and you're not just affecting our team, but you're affecting the other team as well.
Trying to make the entire fraternity turn against those individuals.
But when you say A, you gotta say B. Remember, we just talked about the fact that this thing is messing up the money. And at the end of the day, if all of our money gets messed up, TV deals and everything gets affected because the games aren't playing. This all then factors in and filters back into the money that the players themselves make. It's a very difficult situation.
It is. I wouldn't lie to you. Usually I would have an answer for you, but this time I don't know, Ken. I am honestly just I'm kind of just like, I'm glad that's not me, because I have no idea what I would do if it was me. Honestly. I mean, okay. If I were one of those individuals who had like I said, reservations about getting the vaccine. If I were one of those individuals and I were in that position, I would not know what to do. It's a lot of things to consider. And obviously these guys, it's not like they just make decisions on their own. They consult their families when it comes to things regarding their careers. So this is a tough one, boy. This is a real tough one.
It is a tough one. But for me, at the end of the day, what I would really like, or what I would prefer, this is Ken speaking as Ken personally. I prefer if everyone takes into consideration the words coming from the medical fraternity and not the armchair doctors who know just about as much medicine as me and you. We leave it there. So that was off the rip. Now, as we had mentioned in the intro, the preseason is in full swing. So we had the Hall of Fame game where on August 5th, the Cowboys played the Steelers. The Steelers won that game 16-3. And week 2, or week 1 of the preseason, because this is the first full slate of games, is in the books. We had the Patriots beat the Washington football team 22-13. The Steelers downed the Eagles 24-16. The Titans beat the Falcons 23-3. The Bills beat the Lions 16-15. That was actually a pretty close game. The Cowboys lost to the Cardinals 19-16. The Bears beat the Dolphins 20-13. The Broncos mollywopped the Vikings 33-6. The Ravens benefited from 6 turnovers from my Saints and beat us 17-14. The Browns beat the Jaguars 23-13. The Bengals 19-14 over the Bucks. The Jets beat the Giants 12-7. Battle of the Meadowlands, 2 still fairly mediocre teams. The Texans beat the Packers 26-7. The Chiefs downed the 49ers 19-16. The Seahawks lost to the Raiders 20-7. The Chargers beat the Rams 13-6. And the Colts beat the Panthers 21-18. Now, AJ, I don't know how much you really pay attention to the preseason. I personally don't pay that close attention, especially the first week of the preseason.
Yeah.
And the main reason for that is most of the starters don't play much of the preseason, especially this very first week. And we had some interesting things happen in some of the games. We got a chance to see Mac Jones. He played some extended minutes for the Patriots. There are lots of people who are writing lots of wonderful things about the Bears and their quarterback situation. And then it seems the most interesting thing that happened in the Chargers and the Rams was the fact that they had a fight in the stands between Rams fans fighting against each other.
Yeah, that went viral. That was really funny. That's hilarious. And did you realize that there were different angles as well? Like,
Yes,
it wasn't
yes.
just like,
Yeah, there were multiple people that were recording this thing. And I mean, maybe it doesn't get as far as it did if the lady who was at the back didn't throw the cup.
You know what's funny about that? The night before that happened, I was actually watching the Netflix documentary on the Malice in the Palace. So it just brought I just brought it fresh to my mind, right? And then when I saw it, I was like, oh, couldn't have been more perfectly timed for me. It was hilarious. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I mean,
innocent man collect the blows.
I mean, I can't say you can't really say how innocent he was because you know they had the verbal tete-a-tete that was happening before the blow started. Shout outs to the guy that was wearing the Aaron Donald jersey because you know he held his own against 3 people. You know,
I was swinging going down.
Yeah, but I think that what worked against him was the guy that was sitting behind him that put his feet on his backside and pushed him over, and then it was over. I
wanted no parts of that. He wanted no parts.
Yeah, and set the guy up. I mean, he just literally fed him as a lamb to the slaughter.
Yeah.
So that was the preseason. At least that's what happened last week, and we have some more preseason games coming up this week. Just to mention a couple, Patriots and the Eagles, we have a rematch of a previous Super Bowl in preseason. That may be interesting for some. The Chiefs are going to play against the Cardinals. There's a battle of Texas with the Texans and the Cowboys. The Saints, they're going to play the Jaguars. So I'll be paying attention to that because we actually have something happening with the Saints that has me very, very interested, at least what's happening with them in the preseason. But those 6 turnovers, that is something that we definitely have to work on. We can't have that going into the season. So, AJ, did you see that the NFL has decided that they are going to crack down on taunting? Yes, that's exactly how I feel about it too. So, if you are a player and you do anything, let me make sure that I get the wording that they have here. So taunting can already be almost any celebration interpreted as showing up the opponent in some way, spiking the ball, dancing, trash talking, or anything else one might be creative enough to conjure. Bowing at the waist and altering stride when approaching the opponent's goal line are explicitly listed as unsportsmanlike acts in the NCAA rulebook, as is imitating the slashing of the throat. And the NFL now bans any violent gesture or any act that is sexually suggestive or offensive, or also simply baiting or taunting acts or words that may engender ill will between teams. So, AJ, you remember Tyreek Hill? Tyreek Hill had this act, this thing that he liked to do. Yeah, he threw the peace sign in your face as he's running into the end zone because obviously nobody can really catch Tyreek Hill. When the NFL decided to start cracking down on that, then Tyreek Hill had the ingenious idea that with his yellow gloves, he's going to paint a black hand on the inside, which is throwing up the deuce on his index and middle fingers. So he'll just show you his hand. But apparently all of that now is out. You can't high step into the end zone. It was so bad that in the Colts game, I think it was Marlon Mack, he had a run up the middle where he basically pushed the pile for like a good 12, 15 yards. He got up and feeling good about himself, he flexed, he was, he's showing out a bit and gave those 15 yards right back because apparently that violates the taunting rule. The NFL has earned the name, they earned the reputation of being the no fun league. And this, to me, carries it even further in that direction. Your thoughts?
Okay, so initially when this rule was introduced, because you mentioned the Tyreek Hill. You know that I wasn't a fan of that peace sign thing, right?
Of course.
You know, yeah, and not just that, but like the backflip in the end zone, especially. I thought he was a little
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah,
with
you
those,
did
right?
consider that to be disrespectful.
Correct. So when I initially saw that this rule was being instituted, I was like, all right, you know what? I didn't think I would be so against it because I'm like, I felt like things were getting out of hand. You know, like certain guys were getting a little too extra with their taunting, essentially, right?
Mhm.
But it was that same video we saw of Marlon Mack making that run. And when you told me, because if I remember correctly, you were the one that, well, can't remember if I'd seen it before, but you shared it with me. And this was like, so this is an example of what counts for taunting this season. So when I saw that, I immediately changed my mind. I was like, nah, the NFL can't be serious. This for real? This for real? And the thing about it is, I feel like this taunting rule is even more egregious than like the NBA's. NBA's, if they get a tech or whatever, a little one shot. Mind you, games can be decided by a single point,
Mhm.
but giving up a tech is no way as bad as having to give up 15 yards. So
Yes.
not in a not in a game of inches, not in
Mhm.
this game of yards, you know. So I as you say, like they are sticking with this reputation of being now known as a no fun league. And didn't they just like give a little leeway for guys to be able to celebrate?
Yeah. We literally
So how
just got
so
the
so you
relaxing
can't
of the
celebrate
celebration.
anymore either then? Because
Well,
how do you differentiate a celebration from a taunt? No, at this point.
it is ridiculous.
Man, the NFL gone stark raving mad. I hate it. I didn't initially, but I really do hate it. No, even me, the prude who was so glad that Tyreek Hill lost and got the deuces thrown back in his face. Like as much as I don't like that stuff during the game, honestly. Yeah, so even if a man flexing because he make a good run, poor Marlon Mack, he every season he out injured. Man probably was feeling real good about himself, as you say, like just feeling real good because the man really got through the pack, middle of the field, get through the pack, like took about 3-4 to bring him down. Just a little flex, and all of a sudden your play get taken away. Oh, come on. That's too much. That's too much.
So I am glad. It makes my heart sing to hear that you and I actually agree on this one. Because remember when we had the whole thing about Tyreek Hill and chucking the deuce and the backflip and stuff like that, you were against it, and I was like, for me, I really don't care. It's fun. It is a game that they're playing. You're supposed to be able to enjoy yourself. So yeah, maybe it might not be the classiest thing in the world to do, to throw the deuce up in the mud as you're running away from him because he has no chance to catch you. Okay. All right, fine. You say the backflip was over the top. Okay, fine. I'll give you that one. But you can't tell me that a man just running and flexing is, and not even necessarily flexing in the direction of any particular player, because he just got up and he's
he
like,
just he literally just got up and just yeah.
And you're gonna tell me that that is worth 15 yards? So you made the comparison with the taunting rule in the NBA, and the NBA rule to me, it makes a lot more sense because it's a situation where you can do things after you make a highlight dunk. Like you just crown this man, and men flex and shout and scream and are demonstrative.
Correct.
But as long as you're not doing it directly in the guy's face now, then it's not taunting. It's just you're celebrating a good thing. And we understand that, you've done something good and you want to celebrate it. The crowd's going crazy, all of that. So to tell me that a man just flexing, or let's see, somebody makes a great catch to get up and they spin the ball, is that taunting? I make a huge third down conversion on a 3rd and 17. I get up and I point. Is that taunting? The NFL is creating a very slippery slope for themselves. And I honestly don't think that this is going to run as it is being called in the preseason for the entire season, because there's no way. Or if it does go for the entirety of this season, next season is going to be gone because this makes no sense. We have to be able to operate with some level of reason for this kind of thing.
Yeah, it can't ask these guys to play like robots. I mean, like as much as I didn't like Tyreek Hill's antics, I would never, I never even in my wildest imagination thought that a rule should be instituted where he should be penalized for that. It was just like for me personally, sports from a sportsmanship sort of perspective, I just didn't like it. But it's a part of the game. You should be able to express yourself. For me, right, Ken, as long as you're not putting your hands on any opponent, then I have no problem with that. As long as you don't touch me after you could taunt or do whatever. That might just fire me up more. Just don't put your hands on me, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
that's all it is. Like if you make a play against me, don't come and tap me on my butt or tap me anywhere and say something. Like the taunt. That is different. That is different.
Yes, that is definitely different.
Yeah, as long as someone is just expressing themselves, like robot. You will make some plays that will have you feeling hype, and it gets you into a sort of mental state, a preparation to be able to just be gearing to go in this game. And you mean to tell me you can't even do that now because you're at risk of causing your team a whole 15 yards? Dog, is she serious? Oh my word!
They've put taunting now on the same level of roughing the kicker, roughing the quarterback, like serious unsportsmanlike conduct, and all it is a guy just having a little fun on the field.
That is really sad. That's really sad.
Like I remember too, like they had this whole thing about like sometimes the guys used to celebrate with putting their hands behind their head and giving a few waist pumps for the North American audience, for us in the Caribbean, a few jokes. And it used to be like, all right, so you couldn't go like full ham on this thing.
Yeah.
So the guys used to just get two little quick pumps.
Yeah, the Hingle McCrinkleberry.
something minor, something small, and then we would just move on. No, they can't even do that. So you can't do anything. You can't get up and rotate your waist because that would consider to be sexual in nature and 15 yards again. We will see. We will see. Because the NFL is digging a hole for themselves with this.
I do believe what you said though, that even if they allow this does run for the entire season, I feel like next year is out, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, this is more than likely going to go the way of the coaches' challenges for pass interference, because what was the point? We put in a rule that you could challenge pass interference, and when there were things that met the standard of clear and obvious error, and still didn't overthrow it. So what was the point? So this, when teams have ridiculous amounts of yards given up in the early games because a man can't express himself and the players are complaining and the fans are complaining and everybody's complaining, then maybe this will go the way of the dodo.
Shameful.
Indeed. So going along with the theme of being back, as I said, we are back, and there are some players who are also back. First up is Dak Prescott. He is back. And depending on who you talk to, he may be hurt or he may not be that badly hurt. But Dak is back. His leg is good. He was looking good in practice. And then all of a sudden, we saw a tweet come out from the Dallas Cowboys official media handle saying nothing to worry about, but Dak is going to get an MRI on his arm, on his shoulder. Apparently, Dak has an injury in that area underneath his throwing arm,
wow, I didn't even know it was there.
Yeah, it's under here, where you have the muscles that connect your arm and shoulder to your pecs and your back. Apparently, the issue is in that area. They said it's a bit interesting that a football player has this kind of injury because that's usually a baseball pitcher's injury.
Right.
They're saying that there's nothing to worry about. But AJ, Dak is just coming back from a broken leg. How concerned would you be if you're Dallas?
I'm a Dallas or a Dallas fan. Because I think I think Dallas are concerned either way,
Mhm.
but they're trying to mask it. From the time you put out a tweet like that, well, there's no need to worry, but everything before the but is negated.
Yes.
Don't word it like that. No, oh well, if it's like if your spouse just call you, hey, don't get too worked up, but our child just bust their head. I don't want to hear the anything before that. I like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Don't come and tell me that. All I heard is that the child bust their head. Like you said, that just came back from an injury. Mind you, while it may not be the same injury, you don't want to hear that right now. And the Cowboys know that too. They're trying to placate the fans. I don't think it's working. I saw that they said he's still on track to be fit for week 1, but it's still a concern. And the Cowboys know that. The Cowboys know that's why they couldn't even word a tweet properly to share that news. They know that it doesn't look good, especially coming back from when they out that long and then you come back and you get all sorts of other little niggles. And as you said, this is an injury that can hamper his throwing.
Yes.
Coming back from an injury on his leg that he so loves to use, this is cause for concern.
I agree. That is well said. I don't think there's anything I can add to that. I mean, we know that usually guys have I guess you could call it compensatory injuries. So you hear a guy, he has a hamstring strain, or he has an ankle issue, or he may have a bad knee, and then all of a sudden his hamstring goes, or he has a bad
Right.
quad. This is
Right.
not the same kind of thing,
It's not.
but this is something that is kind of unprecedented for a football player to have an injury that affects his throwing like this. Is not even to say is in the shoulder. It's
Yeah.
just is a muscular thing.
That
So
is.
yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that. No, we said that Dak is back, and then Aaron Rodgers is back. And he is back with the Green Bay Packers, and he gave quite the interview when he returned. So we know that he's back, and they're saying that there is a gentleman's agreement that if they
Mhm.
can't repair their relationship and he wants to leave next season, well, he won't be back then. So, AJ, Rodgers is back. Your thoughts?
I I still maintain that the Packers are not in the best position here. They're not the ones who hold the leverage here, despite the fact that Rodgers is back. Still think at the end of this day, at the end of the day, this works out the way that Aaron Rodgers wants it to. And the Packers are, I wouldn't say a world of trouble, but I don't think it's setting up nicely for them in the near future even. They're still like, we would have heard more if Jordan Love was ready for this. There would have been more news coming out of that camp if Jordan Love. All we're still hearing is a lot of like rumblings and so that, oh well, he might be this, he might be that, we're not too sure. But the fact that they were so aggressively, I mean, no one would want to give up Aaron Rodgers, right? You wouldn't want to lose him from your franchise. That's standard, but still, they were intent. They were so intent on keeping him. They brought back Randall Cobb. Just to sort of pacify Aaron and be like, all right, you know what? Let's try to do this for one more year, please. Look, we're willing to do this for you. To me, Aaron Rodgers still has all the leverage. I do think he'll be professional enough to go out there and try to do his job. Probably like a last swan song. Try to show the Packers what they will be missing when they downgrade to Jordan Love next season, if they don't go and draft Jordan Love's replacement now. But yeah, I'm not fully surprised that he will return for this last year. I just still again think, despite how it's played out, that he still has the upper hand.
So I don't disagree that Rodgers has the upper hand. And yes, he himself has made some concessions because obviously he was not turning up, and then he has turned up for camp, and he is going to play the season. There was a threat of him retiring altogether.
Mhm.
And of course, one of the names that he made mention of in his return interview was Randall Cobb, who very quickly was brought back on a trade, not even just as a free agent. He was traded for
Trade
from the
back for him.
Texans.
Yeah. Quick.
Yeah, so there is a lot of eating of crow on the part of the Packers to get Aaron Rodgers in. Most of this is because Jordan Love has not been setting the world alight. Even though what this is his second year with the Packers, so at this point we just don't know. We will see, but I'm sure that we will have a much more lengthy conversation about Rodgers and the Packers
Oh, in weeks to come, yes.
in the weeks to come. Somebody else that's also back, Deshaun Jackson. He is back with the Texans, even though he is still saying that he still wants to be gone from there.
Watson.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, Deshaun Watson. My apologies.
Freudian slip. Yeah, no problem.
Yes, Watson is back and he is training. He is practicing. He still wants to go. The Texans are still asking for way too much money to let him go. Sorry, not money. Too much return, too much picks and other players to let him go. But we know Deshaun Watson is back. We are still yet to see if he'll actually play a snap this season because chances are there is a suspension looming for him with the NFL because of the allegations that we have spoken about ad nauseum in previous episodes. So I don't even think we really need to spend any time on Deshaun.
Yeah.
However, somebody that I'd like to talk about a little bit is Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is back on the injury list. Carson Wentz, no sooner than he pulled up in Indianapolis, he is hurt. And he was supposed to be getting surgery. Now I'm hearing that Carson Wentz may actually be trending towards playing in week 1, which is surprising for me. But of course, Carson Wentz is the kind of guy that all backup quarterbacks dream of because his fragility makes them extra valuable. You know that literally with Carson Wentz, you are one play away from getting into the game. I'm going to stop dogging Carson Wentz just for now. AJ, what do you think? How do you feel about the return of Sir Wentz?
Well, I can't be too motivated. After I just gave that extended soliloquy on Dak, I cannot now turn around and say this is not cause for concern, right? Because as you so eloquently put just now, his fragility, Carson Wentz, that is, has been an issue. So the fact that he was already, succumb. Yeah, that for some reason I wasn't translating well in my mind. The fact that he already succumbed to an injury in the preseason is cause for concern. Who's the Colts backup right now?
So the Colts actually have a bit of a quarterback competition for the backup position because
Jacob is no longer there. So
yeah, is Sam Ellinger and Jacob Eason. Two guys I had never heard of before this situation happened.
I think Eason just got drafted a year or two ago, something like that. One of them later round picks. So I guess Ellinger is the guy who probably licking his chops right now. I mean, the Colts are saying the same thing that Dallas essentially said, that he's trending towards week 1. But I mean, the situation is slightly different because at first the report was that he may be out for a longer extended period. But even so, even if I were a Colts fan, like them saying that doesn't fill me with much confidence. It doesn't fill me with much. It would sound like them just trying to soften the blow a little bit. So this doesn't look like a good start. I don't like it. And that being said, Carson Wentz, I'm not going to draft you this year, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah, we definitely shall. So the NFL, the they're acronyms. National Football League, the No Fun League, and then there's another one that you could use for the NFL, especially in times like these. Is it could be all Caribbean vernacular. I'm not going to say what the second word is. You can fill in that blank for yourself. But the first word is enough. The second word is sorry. The third word is lies. You can put whatever you want. You can put whatever you want right smack dab in the middle. So we know that at this point in time, just like leading up to the draft, is a lot of smoke and mirrors. Enough lies. That's all I will say at this point. We will see what happens with Carson Wentz because he could be out till week 10 or he could be starting on week 1. We will see how fast he heals. But as I said before, we know that he is a little bit on the fragile side and therefore anything is possible with him.
That being said, since we're talking about everyone who's back and who may not be back, and since you put it as Carson is back on the injury list, who as at this point is not going to be back, and you never know who is going to pick him up next. That boy Josh Rosen. This seemed like the perfect time to mention him. I know we were laughing about it early on, but this seems like the exact Ken. How long? I don't want to be unjust here, right? How long does it take until we start to call someone a bust? I would really like to know.
So when the Raiders had Jamarcus Russell, right? Jamarcus Russell played, I think he was a first round pick. I don't remember if he was the first overall pick, but he was a first round pick for sure. He played a season. And then within 2 subsequent seasons, he was out of the league.
Right.
And he is known to be an all-time bust. I was going to, for Josh Rosen, I would have phrased it that Josh Rosen is back on the breadline. He's back on the unemployment list, looking for a club because he doesn't have one right now. Again, Josh Rosen has not even done as much as Jamarcus Russell. Jamarcus Russell had a full season. I do not think...
And Rosen was a number 10 pick.
Right, but Rosen has not yet had 16 games as a starter. I don't believe. Because he was a starter in Arizona. We will never forget his whole thing about all these teams that made a mistake and didn't pick him. Okay.
He was going to show them.
He was going to show the world. He was going to show everybody. But he hasn't shown us yet. So he didn't get 16 games. He didn't get the 16 games with Arizona. He went to Miami. He didn't get much game time there. He left there. This is the 4th team that he's been on.
The Bucks after that, right?
Yes, he was with the Bucks.
And then
This is his 4th team in the NFL, and he is gone in the first round of roster cuts.
In the first round of roster, yeah.
So we're moving from 99 to 85, and you don't make it past round 1, none.
And they waived him to pick up a corner.
It's a wrap. It is a wrap. That he now has to go into the realm of all-time busts already, because
I don't like to call misfortune on guys, but he's just one of the guys that from the time he was drafted, he just came across as more privileged as opposed to like wanting to get his head on at work. No, I can appreciate that. If you think you should go high in a draft, you use that as some sort of fuel to motivate you to be a better person. Hell, Tom Brady did it, right?
Yep.
But it's the manner in which you go about addressing that. I like to say on your draft night that the 9 teams ahead of me like, first of all, just say I'm an Arizona Cardinal. Can't wait to get ready. Can't wait to get to work. And work for this franchise, and like anything like that. Some of the man's first words were that the 9 teams in front of him made a mistake. I'm like, yeah, this boy gonna make it. this boy ain't gonna make it. I said so on draft night. So it doesn't. I don't take pleasure in seeing him struggle and seeing myself being right, but it kind of feels like, yeah, this was inevitable.
So I mean,
It felt inevitable.
but the only thing that I will say, I guess you could almost say in his defense with regards to that draft night comment was that Aaron Rodgers
Said
said
the same
something
thing.
similar when the 49ers passed him out. He said he was going to make them sorry every single time he played them. He was able to keep his word.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for Josh Rosen, their skill levels and clearly their application towards the game are not the same.
Correct. Apples and oranges.
Exactly. So now we move on from the guys who are back. We know we like to celebrate when guys get their money. So Josh Allen has just gotten a massive extension, 6 years, a total value of $258 million with $150 million in total guarantees. Congratulations, Josh Allen. At least we will expect that since you've made all of this money, they will continue to use you as Josh Allen and not Jaheim Allen, where you will have to be taking some hits because of your athleticism that could be associated with others. Also getting paid is Jamal Adams. Now, you remember Jamal Adams, he wanted to get his money from the time he was in New York. He got traded from New York to Seattle, and Seattle has decided that, yes, we love you here. We are going to pay you 4 years, $70 million, $38 million guaranteed. Congratulations to you, Mr. Adams.
Yeah. I think they both deserve it. So not much to add there. Yeah. Happy for him.
All right. So AJ, we know we're trying to keep an eye on the clock. We're trying to keep this tight. So we're going to have to go a bit rapid fire on who do you trust. Who do you trust this week? We are looking at some quarterback battles that are playing out both in the training camps and also during preseason. So there's an article on Bleacher Report that have encapsulated the quarterback battles and who they think are winning the battles right now, and we'll use that to help guide our conversation because I mean, if they've done the research, I don't necessarily need to do it myself. So first up, we have Andy Dalton and Justin Fields with the Chicago Bears. Now, as I had made mention of before earlier, there's a lot of buzz about one Justin Fields because he had a pretty good performance in the preseason opener against the Dolphins. Dalton had he went 2 of 4 for 18 yards. Fields had a lot longer run in the game. He went 14 of 20 for 142 yards and a touchdown, with also 5 runs for 33 yards and another score. So AJ, and not even asking you, who do you trust? Who are you picking to win this quarterback battle? Andy Dalton or Justin Fields?
No, Justin Fields. Justin Fields all day. Yeah, I have enough faith in him. I this is no disrespect to the Red Rifle. I've actually been a fan of his, but he does have his limitations. I mean, even when they drafted him, they knew what they were trying. The Bears. They knew what they were doing. But I'd said drafting. Sorry. Even when they picked him up, they knew what they were looking for. And he's there to mentor this young man. That is all it is. And be a backup in case of emergency. He's a break the glass in case of emergency. This is Justin Fields' job for me.
Well, as I have said many times on here, that the Mendoza line of quarterbacks for many years is Andy Dalton. If you had one better than him, you had a quarterback. And if you had one worse than him, you didn't have one. So Justin Fields was brought in to be the starter. Maybe not the week 1 starter, but he is there to be the starter. My expectation is that he is also going to be starting come week 1. As you said, no disrespect to Andy Dalton. It is just that there is more upside with the youngster at this point.
Definitely.
All right. Who do you trust? Number 2, we have the Denver Broncos, who were hoping to land either. Uh, they were trying to get. It was either going to be Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson. Instead, we have a competition between Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater, which is not really setting the pulses racing. But I mean, we have Teddy, we have Drew. Teddy, who has been steady, Teddy, but not, explosive Teddy, and Drew Lock, who tends to only really play good when it gets into the fourth quarter and they're already down 3 scores. So when they had the preseason game against the Vikings, as I said, the Broncos blew the doors off the Vikings. Locke went 5 of 7 for 151 yards and a touchdown. And 2 touchdowns. Bridgewater came in and he went 7 of 8 for 74 yards and a touchdown. So they've both had a good game, but in the practices, we're hearing that they both had good days and good moments, and then they come back and have otherwise days and otherwise moments. So, AJ, who do you think is going to win this one?
Teddy Bridgewater feels like the lesser of evils here. That's the best way I could put it. I don't trust Drew Lock. I know particularly you could remember that I didn't want Jerry Jeudy. I was a little peeved when Jerry Jeudy got drafted on to Denver because what I said specifically is I don't want him down there with Drew Lock in your city. I don't want him there. Drew Lock just has not impressed me, and the fact that they brought in Teddy, it is like to me, Teddy is more experienced, and while they have different skill sets, I think Teddy was there to really push for that starting job, and I think he's going to win it. I just don't see. I haven't seen enough from Drew Lock to convince me that he's ready to take the reins of this team.
So the only reason why I go against you in this one, I actually believe that Drew Lock is more likely to be the week 1 starter than Teddy, is because of his familiarity with the system. He has a year under his belt with that head coach, with that offensive coordinator. The continuity that he has with the players as well, it gives him the leg up. And the fact that right now the 2 of them are basically neck and neck in the training and also in the performances during the preseason game so far, it feels more likely that Teddy is going to start as the backup. Drew Lock is going to be the starter. Chances are he may or he may not stink up the joint in the first couple of weeks, and then Teddy takes over for the rest of the season. But at this point, I believe that it is still Drew Lock's job to lose.
Fair.
All right. Now they made mention quickly. Trevor Lawrence or Gardner Minshew?
Trevor Lawrence.
Right. So we move on. we move on. So there's apparently a quarterback competition between Cam Newton and Matt Jones. The Patriots have not named their week 1 starter as yet. So AJ, who do you believe wins this job? Newton went 4 of 7 for 49 yards, and Matt Jones went 13 of 19 for 87 yards in their preseason opener.
So I'm going to apply the same analysis that you just gave for Denver here, but the situation is slightly different here for me because Mac Jones is a rookie, right? No sort of familiarity with, and we know that the Patriots playbook is not an easy one to pick up just like that, right? Even Cam struggled with it a bit last season, but because of that being said, he's had a year with the team. He's now had he's now having an off season. Doesn't have COVID. I think he should be a little better this year than he was last year. We know he was not up to even his standard. He knows that too. But I think he'll be ready this year, and that job is his to me from week 1. Mac Jones is more long-term. We never thought Cam was going to be long-term in New England, but I mean, it's only 2 seasons so far. We'll see how it goes, but this is Cam's job from week 1.
I agree. And like I said, it would be remiss of me now to come and speak differently about this situation after just
Yeah.
making the points I made about here in Denver. So we will move on. One more and two more. Ryan Fitzpatrick and Taylor Heineke are apparently in a quarterback competition
Oh boy.
for the Washington football team. Fitzpatrick went 5 of 8 for 58 yards, while Heineke was 9 of 15 for 86. So, who do you believe is going to win this job?
All right, let me keep this short. Taylor Heineke had his moment. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but Washington football team and Ron Rivera do not trust him enough to start him from week one. Not saying this from inside the info, I just don't believe it. This is Fitzpatrick's job from week one.
I would like to believe that Heineke can win it, but there's something about Ryan Fitzpatrick that gets coaches excited.
Especially in the first few, especially like the first 4 to 6 weeks, something like that.
Yeah. So you know that he is going to come out and he's going to give you some effort. He's going to give you that good old college try, and he has no fear in just throwing that ball up there. So yeah, we are going to say that Fitzpatrick wins this job. And finally, my Saints. This is the one that has the entire NFL captivated. I don't know why we are even having this conversation. But anyhow, Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston are locked in a battle for the starting position with my New Orleans Saints, and they're both trying to succeed Drew Brees, my guy. So Hill finished with 8 of 12 for 81 yards and an interception. Winston went 7 of 12 for 96 yards with a touchdown and an interception. As I made mention of in the opener, we had 6 turnovers in this game. Who do you believe wins this job?
I want to let you talk on this more. What I will say is that, in my opinion, a quarterback who throws some picks but is still productive is better than a bizarro Tebow quarterback. So, Jameis Winston.
I really don't know why Sean Payton. He is participating in the enough lies portion of this conversation. We all know that Jameis Winston is the better quarterback. We all know this. As I've said, if Winston cannot beat Taysom Hill for this job, Winston should go ahead and retire. He should go ahead and retire.
Pretty much.
So I would like to see Taysom Hill go back to being Taysom Hill, being my Swiss Army knife and doing everything. I love him in that role. I don't want him to be my starting quarterback. No way, no how.
Quite understandable, actually.
No thanks. All right. So that was Who Do You Trust? So, AJ, for this week's final thought, I'm going to just keep it short and sweet. As we made mention of earlier, today is cut day in the NFL. A lot of the teams are moving from, well, every team is cutting down from 99 players to 85, I think. And then there are 2 further cut days to come. The last one by Tuesday, August the 31st. All 32 teams have to have a 53-man roster, 60-man practice squad. There are lots of notable names who are being cut today. We made mention of Tim Tebow, I think briefly. Did we?
I don't think I just mentioned his name for the first time tonight, I think.
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, Tim Tebow, we never expected that he was going to be the guy in Jacksonville at tight end. He's never played the game at that position before. So happy trails to you, Tebow. You got to try out for another position. Ito Smith, running back, he was with Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
He's been cut. Alfred Morris, he was with
that one,
yeah, he has been cut as well with the Giants. We also have Prince Amukamara. We brought him in New Orleans as a cornerback. He's been cut. Marvin Hall, wide receiver, cut from the Patriots. Lamar Miller, running back with the Washington football team. He's been cut. Kerryon Johnson, he was just with Philly. He's also been cut.
I did not know that one.
Yeah, so there are some notable names who got the chop today. But my whole thing about this is not about these names that we know, because most of these guys have been in the league for a while, with the exception of Tebow, who's been out of the league for a while. But like Kerryon Johnson, he was drafted just in 2019. He has 916 snaps in the NFL. Prince Mukamara, he was drafted in 2011, 1,869 snaps. Antonio Callaway, another name that I didn't even mention just now, wide receiver that was just with the Kansas City Chiefs, he's also been cut. He's had 972 snaps between 2018 to 2020. But there are lots of guys whose names we will never know. There are lots of guys who this was their dream, and they've been working for this. They've been trying their best. A lot of them will be undrafted guys who came in looking for a job, who were doing their best to make a roster, and they are getting cut today as well. In a lot of cases, this may be their only opportunity that they will have ever had to make it into the league, and it has not worked out for them. So my heart goes out to those guys, not necessarily the Callaways and Johnsons and those guys. I wish them nothing but the best in the future. If they are able to make it onto a practice squad, that would be great. But usually, practice squad guys are the guys that get cut in the last cut. Those are the ones that, usually stick around the longest, which is why we made mention and made light to some degree of Josh Rosen being cut in the first round of cuts. So we don't know what the future holds for these guys. I wish them nothing but the best. If any of them see this podcast and want to come on and tell us about their experiences, we will be happy to have you.
By all means. Yeah.
And so that is my final thought for this week. So now we just have a few quick announcements for everyone. As we said, we are happy to be back. As we are in a new season. We have some new equipment. As you can see, I have a new headset on. The audio should be sounding a little bit clearer. I'm sitting in a new room in my house. We don't have the window behind me anymore. There's a nice wall with a painting just there. Now we are also going to have some new things happening this season. We are going to introduce the GreenBaje fantasy spot, which we are going to record as soon as we're finished here. We are going to look at the league from a fantasy perspective. I mean, we have fun playing fantasy, and it's something that we would not mind doing with you as well. So, as you will see, and we will put in the comment section below, our Twitter handles, our Instagram handles are always displayed for you. Reach out to us and let us know if you would be interested in taking on your boys in a fantasy league. More will come in the fantasy pod, which will follow this one. Also, we're going to have some guests come through every once in a while this season as we look at the games and we discuss everything. We're going to have a guest next week for next week's episode, so stay tuned for that. At this point, I think that is just about it, at least for today. AJ, do you have anything for the people?
No, it's just good to be back, man. Can't wait for football to be back. I mean, despite the fact that my team wasn't my team last year, if you know what I mean, they were still the better of my teams in sports. So, and you know exactly what that one means. So, yes. I just can't wait for football to be back.
All right, folks. So that brings us to the end of episode 1 of our new season. Heading into the new season, the 2021 season of the NFL. As always, that is AJ. He is the green. I'm Ken. I am the beige. We will see you next time.